Hey guys, alright, so I'm going to try and not talk as much as I have been because my card keeps filling up because I have another video on here. So yeah, this is going to be my video on how I got Ryan to fall asleep on his own. A little bit of backstory. When he was younger, he was very hard to get to go to sleep and he was very cranky, and I'm not sure if he was colic or whatever, but he was very hard to get to go to sleep. So he got super reliant on being rocked and bounced and being walked around and all of them at the same time and just about everything you can think of. So then at 6 months, I tried what I started about 3 weeks ago. I'm not going to talk about it twice. And then he started falling asleep on his own, and then he, for some reason, it was when he was teething. It just like completely went out the window. So he slept on his own for about a month and a half, 2 months. And then he started teething really, really bad. And then we moved into my dad's house. And so that was like, just forget about it. There was no way in hell. It was so hard to get him to go to sleep. Pretty much you'd lay him down and he'd either wake up right away, or you'd make a noise when you were walking out the door and he would wake up right away. And same thing when we first moved in our house. That continued from my dad's house. So once we were all moved in our house, I figured I had to do something because I wasn't sleeping good. I was getting stressed out from it taking so long to get him to go to bed. He wasn't sleeping good. Basically, it would take me anywhere from like 20 minutes to an hour to get him to go to sleep. Well, he would fall asleep fine, but then, like I said, I would lay him down or a noise would happen on my way out. The floor would creak or the door would creak and he would wake up right away. So I kind of asked on my Facebook, can anyone help? I'm not interested in doing cry it out method, and pretty much everyone said, except for a few people, oh, cry it out method's the only way, blah, 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 this is what worked for us. And I do not believe that cry it out method is the only way. I think that what we did is a nice kind of meet. I think it's pretty similar to the no cry sleep solution. It's just, I think with that, they tell you that you can pick your baby up, or they tell you to pick your baby up and comfort them and then lay them back down. And I did do that sometimes, but not all the time. So let me get into this and tell you what worked for us. And I do recommend it because honestly, he was an extreme case. Like, he wasn't just like, oh, sometimes it was hard. No, like, it was terrible to get him to go to sleep and for a nap every single time. Like, I dreaded bedtime and nap time so much. So basically what I did is I would lay him in his crib. Well, I started a bedtime routine first. I did, well, I always had a bedtime routine before, but I just really stuck to it. I did bath time, brush his teeth, PJs, lotion. I would read a book, and then I would turn his sound machine on, his fan on, his nightlight on, and then turn his light off. So he knew that, like, as I was going around the room, he knew that I was getting ready to turn the light off and put him to bed. And then I would give him a hug and kiss, or, tell him, give mommy a hug. So depending on what age your child is, you might have to alter some of this. I would tell him to give me a hug. I would say, night, night, I love you, see you in the morning, things like that. Lay him down, and then I would rub his head. In the beginning, I started rubbing his head for maybe like anywhere between 10 and 20 seconds, and now it's to the point where I just lay him down, rub his head once or twice, and walk out. But I think a good routine that they'll remember and they'll know in their head, okay, she's getting ready to lay me in the crib and she's gonna walk out after this, it really, really helps. I think this is one of the main things that helps so much. So I would walk out, and then he started crying, obviously, right away. And then depending on his cry, I would go right back in, within a minute to 5 minutes, never over 5 minutes. If it was a really, really bad cry, I would go in, sometimes even earlier than a minute. It just kind of, I did what I felt was best. I wasn't watching the clock saying, okay, he's been crying for a minute and a half, he has to cry for 30 more seconds, and then I'll go in. No, if he started choking or he was like really worked up, I would go right in. So I just kind of felt it out, tried to increase the time that it took me to go in. But if, you know, he cried for 2 minutes one time, I wouldn't say, okay, he needs to cry for 3 minutes or 5 minutes this time. If I had to go back in after a minute, I went back in after a minute. And then so I would go in and I would lay him back down and then rub his belly and rub his head and tell him it's okay. You can go night-night, you know, nothing's wrong, you're fine. And then as soon as he was calmed down, I would stay there for maybe about another minute so he would know that, you know, I'm still there. I'm not, you know, gonna leave him the second he stops. And then I would walk out. So for the first 3 nights, it took about 40 minutes. I think the 3rd night it took 50 minutes. And then by the 4th night, he didn't cry at all. So a lot of people said that it might take a while, but for him it only took 3 nights. And I honestly think the main key is going in when you feel like you need to go in. If they're just crying like a little whimper, or, you know, barely a cry, I think it's okay to let him cry for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then you can go in and calm him back down and lay him down. And obviously he knows that, you know, you're there and you're going to come back in and everything's going to be okay. I've heard some people say that you can't keep going back in that often because they'll just cry all night and they'll keep thinking that you're going to come back in, but obviously that's not true. So those first nights he slept all the way through the night, and I have no idea when the last time that was. Before that, like, it was so amazing to me. I woke up and looked at the clock because I heard the monitor. I was like, oh my god, there's no way, like, this is not real life right now. Because before, you know, I was going back in, you know, from between 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock when I went to bed, like, multiple times. It took me like 10 times to get him to go to sleep, and then he would wake up at like 12:30, 1:30, and he would come right in bed with us. But he did get sick, and then so he started coming in bed with us, and so now he does completely fall asleep on his own, but he does still some nights wake up and come in bed with us. So I'm trying to work on that now, but knock on wood, I think I'm getting closer to having him sleep through, you know, straight through, because he still was pretty sick up until like a day or 2 ago. So I felt bad, you know. I don't have a problem with sick babies coming in bed with us. I know when I'm sick, I just want to cuddle and, you know. So, one other issue we did have is that he was associating everything with nighttime. So he knew after, you know, that 3rd night, he knew that when it was dark and after the whole routine of me turning everything on and turning his light off, he knew that it was bedtime, but still, even after a week of him falling asleep on his own at night, he would not fall asleep on his own for nap time because it was still really bright out. But I noticed that I wasn't doing the exact same thing I was doing at night. I would just, because, you know, his light wasn't on or anything like that, I would just go in and turn his fan on and lay him down. So I started doing the same things, the sound machine, his fan. I would sometimes turn the night light on even though it wasn't going to show or anything. And then I would say, give me a hug, you know, night night, even though it's not night night. But it's still something for him to be familiar with, you know. And I think after doing that, sticking with that same routine that we did at bed, obviously minus the bath and the brushing the teeth and stuff like that, I think he might have cried a little bit and then fell asleep on his own, or I might have had to go back in once maybe. I honestly can't remember. But he did get used to, I guess he remembered that whole routine. So it is going to differ between children depending on, Ryan is 14 months old. So there are certain things that he's more alert and more aware of. If your baby is younger, you might do things a little bit differently, but I did do this with Ryan at 6 months. If you can do it before your baby starts standing, that would probably be a lot easier, because Ryan did stand up and he would throw a fit and, you know, get himself a lot more worked up. If you can do it before your baby can stand on their own, they're already in the laying position, so I think it's a little bit easier. But definitely don't do it when your baby is like a month, 2 months, 3 months. That's just too young to be sleep training or trying to get them to sleep on their own. But honestly, I'm so glad we did this. It's so crazy to me. Even still, he's been falling asleep on his own for like 3 weeks now. It's so crazy to me that I can literally have him asleep if you include bath time and everything, like 10 minutes. Bedtime routine is like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. If I'm not giving him a bath, like tonight I didn't give him a bath because it's Christmas Eve, so I'm just going to give him one in the morning. From the time I was like, okay, it's bedtime, I walked him upstairs, put his PJs on, laid him in the crib, and I was out. And 3 weeks ago, it was taking me an hour. It's just like insane to me. So if you guys have any questions at all, please leave them below. Ryan, like I said, was an extreme case of not being able to fall asleep on his own. So my big pointers are go with your gut. Don't stick to some certain time limit that somebody else wrote out. You have to go for 2 minutes, then 5 minutes, then 10 minutes. I don't think that's right. Well, it's not right, but I just think that my way is better. I don't know. Stick to a routine, and yeah, just follow your heart and stick to, or not follow your heart, follow your gut, and stick to a routine, and your baby will kind of get used to that and realize, okay, she's putting the fan on and turning the light off, that must mean it's bedtime. And do something like, you know, give them a kiss, give them a hug, rub their head, something like that that's like comforting to them. Give them a blankie, I don't know, just little things like that. I think it helps so much. And if it doesn't work out, my next recommendation would be let them go for a little bit longer and then try again, maybe whenever you feel is right, maybe 2 weeks, a month, because like I said, like there was no way it was happening in my dad's house. Like there was no way I could have done this in my dad's house. And when he was teething, it wouldn't have worked out when he was teething really bad. So kind of feel out when your baby's ready for it. If it doesn't work out, you know, just try again whenever you feel comfortable. But yeah, please, if you have any questions or anything, leave them below, message me, email me, Facebook me, and I will try my best to help you because I've been in your shoes and I know how bad it can suck to try and get your baby to go to sleep and get them to have a peaceful night's sleep, and it just isn't working out and you feel like nothing's gonna work. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I guess that is it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.